space. Hey guys, what's up? We just finished adding the Fantastic Four to the shelf, and it is awesome. But this room is only so big, and inevitably, at some point, we have to start making some collection decisions. These guys are going on the shelf. It's not what this video is about. This video is specifically about moving the statues off of the shelf and giving them their own space. So I did a bit of rearranging. See, the office is only so big. This is the main collection shelf. This right here, it's the entire back wall. It covers a whole bunch of different stuff. Everything from Star Trek over here, all the way down to an old Freddy Krueger setup, which I do at like Halloween parties and whatnot. We got the DC shelf over here. We got crazy amounts of Barbarians going on. We got Dragon Ball Z anime stuff. We got the Marvel shelf. We got Gundams. We got Pokemon up here. We got boxes all the way across the top. And coming over here, we got G.I. Joe, and in the back, we got a couple video game stuff. Things in general. Coming over here, across the walls here, we got some Motu. This is the Origin stuff, and a collection of randomized things as well. So it's not just Origins over here. I got a couple of the 2000X figures. I got some little trinket fun things like that, some of the miniatures. These are the books I have so far read. Not all of them that I have that I've read. Once I read them, I put them here on this shelf. These are random comic books. There are two different things that I need to read, and then I'll be boxing them away and possibly selling them because I don't really do single issues anymore. Down here, we got a little bit of the cartoon line and whatnot. We got this Beast Rider-esque dragon thing, which is pretty cool. Down here, we got some of the bad guys. There's still plenty of shelf space for Origins. When it comes down to it, after I read those are going to be gone. That's going to open up all that space. This space still exists because he's not staying there. He's going to go up there. And the mini thing is probably going to go, which opens this entire shelf. And then down here, this shelf really isn't messed with that much. And these two things are actually going to be leaving this area because they don't really belong here either. These all the way down here in the dark, which it does seem like it's really dark. Those are going to end up coming over here. I have, right now, a Barbarian shelf right there, as well as another shelf to start doing Barbarians on, which isn't even close to being filled up yet. They're just spaced out right now, so it looks like this shelf is pretty full. It really isn't. And this shelf is going to be opened up completely. That's going out to the garage. This, I'm not sure where it's going. That's more of a prop thing. That Nintendo controller is going to go, and I think I'm finally going to box up the Green Ranger helmet. It's cool, but it doesn't speak to me like a Gold Ranger helmet would speak to me. It's a really cool piece, but I don't think I'm hanging on to it. But I got thinking. I have an old display case that used to be used for CDs. But I haven't used CDs in quite a while. So I dug it out, and I put it over there. This, I'm hoping, with a statue up here, and all the statues in there, can get some space back from the shelf. What am I talking about? I'm talking about a big giant Wolverine. Not necessarily a statue, but still a problem in general. He takes up real space. I got Savage Land's Rogue. We got a a couple of statues back here. We got the Phoenix, both the white costume and the red costume. So we got the, I can't remember what they called her, but I know the red costume was the Dark Phoenix. I remember that. We got a couple of Spider-Gwens going on back here, and then coming down here, we got some Wonder Woman stuff and Green Lantern and a couple of things here and there, that if I can get all of these statues off the shelf and into there, I think I'll open up a little more space for the unboxings, because there's still some unboxings to do. That's all the episodes I have lined out, not including the stuff on the way and the stuff up here. So now comes the question, have I gone overboard? Have I collected too much and not really looked out for my space? No. The truth of the matter is that that's this side of the room and this side of the room. There's still a cubby hole over there, which has a lot of open shelf space. And there's still an area right there on that side where I could build another shelf. So I'm not out of space. Also, the garage is being redone to be another hangout zone type of thing. Next, after this winter, the garage will be insulated and will be redone to start working on the idea of building shelves out there so that I'll have space for bigger collectibles as well as a type of retro area, which I've already got somewhat set up, a hangout zone. I've got a couch out there, chair out there, and we use it for like when we do holidays and things like that. That area is going to be built up to be used for extra space, some storage, as well as a retro hangout area where I can play old video games and whatnot with friends that come over. It's a bit of a smaller area than my living room, the garage is, so it would make sense because then we can actually use the old consoles that are still connected to cords and whatnot, because life has changed significantly since those days. Nowadays, you have the wireless controllers, you sit way back from a TV that's like 55, 75 inches or something like that. Back when I was growing up, the retro TV was like a 32-inch, gigantic, ridiculous box that took up a third of the living room that then the console sat on, and then the controllers came out 10 feet, and that was like your whole living room. And it was an easy setup. It's not quite the same thing. Nowadays, when you try to set up a retro console like that, it causes a bit of an issue. So, because I've got to run the winter still, before I start working on all of that, I want to make sure that I utilize the absolute best space I can use in this room. So the first thing I'm going to do is start taking down the statues and figuring out what goes over there. Then again, there's something else to consider altogether. See, that's a superhero shelf right there. And that's a superhero shelf right there. And they are ever expanding. I have Green Lanterns. I have lanterns coming in because I'm buying the Atrocitus wave. And I, of course, have things I'm working on, like I want to start getting the other part of the Fantastic Four stuff, and I also want to get some stuff here and there for like my Avengers team and whatnot. But this doesn't expand anymore. Pretty much where I am with Dragon Ball Z is collecting statues, and that's the end of it. And it doesn't take up that much of a shelf by itself. If I could get this to go there, which isn't that big of a move, I could get an entire shelf back, and then I could start utilizing a different idea. I could take all of these here, and I could move them here into this spot, and then expand across a giant superhero long shelf across the wall, and then open this up for more barbarian stuff. Because every single one of these boxes, now that I have the art book, are no longer necessary. That art book has me a thing where I can look at the art whenever I want, which makes keeping all the boxes less important now. Now I can get rid of the boxes, I could free up 2 shelves on top, and if I could get these things in there, I think that may have just made my decision. See, I'll be honest, this is a little difficult because I could clear space by moving the statues, and literally I would double the amount of space on the DC shelf. And I would get back quite a lot of space on the Marvel shelf. And I already have Wonder Woman posters sitting on the wall right here. So this is a little difficult because I could clear up that Dragon Ball Z shelf. It doesn't really expand that much anymore. I don't go crazy buying a lot of Dragon Ball Z statues. It's just not something I do anymore. And also, I have considered that this side over here already has some Gundam stuff going on. So I'm thinking about also building a possible bookshelf thing right here on the side, if not adding shelves right onto that wall. And if I did that, that's where all the anime stuff would go anyway. So I'm really torn. I'm torn because this isn't the simplest of decisions. But I got to make a move here. I got to do something. I think I've decided. So I fought with myself for a while, but I've made the choice. Those are going to stay there until I get the bookshelf that will be over here. Because over here in this corner, all this Gunpla is going to come off the floor and go onto the bookshelf that I get here. So it'll be one of those thin, tall bookshelves type of things that I can actually stock stuff like that on, and then I can actually even move the Gundam over there, and I'll get everything, all the anime off the shelf and onto its own shelf right behind Amuro here. So that'll be really solid. I'm going to purposely get one of those bookshelves that doesn't have a back so that I also can keep this up, because I really like this and I've liked it for a long time. This is how much space that just got me. Look at that. That's a lot. This is what I mean by trinkets and crap. We've talked about this a couple of times on the channel. When you buy like a little bitty trinket thing, like these, right? These rings, they're cool. Like they're cool. But every time you buy like a little bat signal or a car, this takes up a spot that a figure could live in. And when you have limited space, and everybody does, it's important to maximize what goes where. So these statues right here are so far the ones that are coming off the DC shelf, and they're going to go over there. And I already have the first couple up here because they're big and they're some of my favorite Wonder Woman pieces. Right here, her probably being my favorite Wonder Woman piece that I have statue-wise. She is absolutely fantastic and has been since I got her. I've never found myself not thinking that she is absolutely amazing. I sometimes just stop and look at her. This is another one that I like a lot right here. This Battle Wonder Woman. These are two of my favorite pieces that I have. And this is just like a cool little Wonder Woman light that I thought would be cool up at the top with the picture in the background here. So they're going to take the top slot, and now I need to figure out the rest of the shelf, but I also need to figure out what is coming off of this. And there's the Marvel shelf so far. This is the space that we have managed to clear. And there's still a lot to be done, actually. I plan to get those risers, because that way I could put some people a little elevated up higher and kind of get those levels, and then it'll be easier to get everybody in view and whatnot, which will actually create even more space. That's the trick. Always getting more space, more space, more space out of the limited space that you have. And this is part of that. I got the statues out of there. They take up the biggest space because they have the biggest ground area. Because even if you have the statues, the thing is, where like these two can sit like this, they can sit right next to each other. All these guys can cramp up and look really cool and like take different poses and whatnot. You can't do that with a statue that has a round base like this. You're stuck to where that base is and the space that it takes up, and nothing else can really share that space with it. And that's true for all statues. But these are all the statues so far that are going to be going over there. Now I gotta load it up. And there we go. It's not perfect, but right now I'm just using what I have. So this is more of like a collection update video. Here we have, going down here, I decided to put those two right here. So I have kind of like a Marvel shelf, both the Phoenixes. I wish I had the green one that I could put in the middle of them. That would be really cool. Then down here, I did a DC shelf, so I have my Green Lantern here from New 52. If I remember right, that's what that is. I have animated Harley Quinn. I have animated Wonder Woman. I have this fantastic piece right here. Yeah, look at that. I really like her stand too. Then going down a little further, we have a giant Wolverine. We have one of the banks for Spider-Gwen. We have Savage Land Rogue. All this is going to be lit up. There's going to be lights that'll go up across the side and everything right now. I'm just getting things set up. And then down at the very bottom, we have a mix because I wanted to make sure that I could get all three of them in there and I'd run out of space. This is not permanent. It just so happens to be the best option I have right now. My next step is to get a shelf that will actually fill the rest of the space and will double the amount of space that I currently have. So this right here is set just fine. My next thing is to measure this and get it all the way over to the edge here and basically fill this spot. And then the next step on top of that actually deals with the shelves. The shelves, I need to get perfect measurements of the shelves. When I did this, this was a quick project. Now I'm going to cut boards to size exact and get them so that they give me the entire wall. Because every single inch that we do not utilize are figures we cannot buy. I'm currently missing space here, missing space here, and missing space here. This was an absolutely fantastic option back when I first did it. When I first put the shelves up, this did everything that I needed it to do. And it is not done doing what I want it to do. There's still more than enough space. There's space here for more Dragon Ball Z stuff. I just cleared a bunch of space up there to get more Marvel stuff. The DC stuff is now open for the Atrocitus wave and much more. This shelf hasn't even begun its utilization yet. That's literally Halloween stuff to be put away. That's an orb. It's cool, but I mean, it just doesn't go here. The Green Ranger helmet doesn't actually have a place here. And then, of course, there's all of this, which was a really cool effect when I thought that I needed to save the artwork. Now that all of this artwork is literally in that book right there, I don't need to save all the boxes. And since I'm an opener, boxes take much more space than opened figures. This shelf is still has a good long lifespan. I think I could get another year, another 2 years, maybe even another 3 years out of this shelf. Because I'm also the kind of person that rotates my collection. I know that in the long run, I want to replace that Joker. He's cool, but he's not going to stay there forever. I also don't necessarily care for that Batman. So if I get better Batman, better Joker, that's what's going to take its spot, meaning that I'll lose something, but I'll gain something in the idea at the same time. The Gundam shelf hasn't even begun yet. I've got a lot to build, but it hasn't even begun. This is still fine, and all of this entire shelf will also open up as soon as I start finishing the garage, because the garage is more for the video gaming stuff, and Pokemon is part of that, along with the Street Fighter figures from Jada and whatnot that we're going to get that are going to go out there. So, I still think, how do I put this? If you are new to figure collecting, it is a min-max game. You pick a room. I have a fairly old house. My rooms are fairly simple. They're 10 by 10. That's it. This is not a huge room, but I have managed to pack things in here like crazy, and I'm far from done. I'm far from done. I still have the ability to build on that wall over there, even. I have the cubby hole that's filled up currently, but it's not done. I can build inside of there too, especially if I manage the space, correctly. Over there on that wall, like we talked about, I'm gonna get a bookshelf, measure, even if I have to make it myself, I will make something, put it there, it will be just the right size, and if it's open shelves, like I said, so I want open shelves. I don't want it to have a back and sides and things like that. Not like a bookshelf like this, because that bookshelf will hinder what I want to do with this wall, because I want this wall to go all the way across and utilize every inch all the way down and all the way up. Guys, collecting is a min-max game, and if you just got in here, if you're collecting, or if you have the kind of attitude where you just keep buying figures and then you start throwing them in totes and things like that because you don't know where to put them, and then you say to yourself, oh man, well, bookshelves are expensive. Yes, they are. Guys, every time you see somebody that has a massive collection and it has a massive, like, top flight setup, that was done over time. They didn't walk into the room and go, okay, this is going to be my collection room. I'll just go ahead and drop $3,000 right now. Because I'll bet you, a lot of those people like shelves, that shelving alone, depending on where you buy it from, even if you buy cheap shelves, can be $40, $50, $60, $70, $80 a shelf. And especially if you go for things that are like display shelves with glass covers, and then if you also build the lights into them, well, that's more work, that's more time, that's more money. Collecting is a hobby that is expensive in the long run. This is the reason I do it the way that I do it. I min-max as I go, and I filter things out that don't belong. This way, I'm constantly moving things in, constantly moving things out, and constantly reevaluating how I have the setup. Nothing is permanent. Once I put it in place, I'm always considering my next move. All right, at my next available 160, I would like to get shelving that goes all the way up. I want to utilize the rest of the wall, right? All the way up to the ceiling. Got a 10-foot ceiling, I want the 10-foot shelf. That's the idea, right? And so it takes real time to get to a place where you see people like, because I see all kinds of people that are like, man, I would love to collect, but I don't have the space. I understand that. I understand that more than you know, because my space is limited. This is a 10 by 10 room, and this is the room I get. Yes, it's true, I'm building into the garage soon. But for the last, like, 6-7 years, yeah, for the last 6 years, this has been my collection room. This. And if you look at old videos, it started with cube shelves. That's it. Some cube shelves across the back. Then I put a bookcase over there. Then I put a bookcase over here. Then I moved those bookcases and put them downstairs for tool storage. So I do a lot of like my lights and things like that I need for the house. Once I utilized those there, I opened this space back up and I went and I got these 2 shelves and put them here. Then I dug this thing out of storage. Now I'm going to build something over there. It's piece by piece by piece. Space management is a huge part of collecting. And I wish more videos went into it. That's the reason I made this video to begin with, is to show you that sometimes collecting isn't about coming in, sitting down, and opening things up and being like, oh my god, I got so much cool stuff. Sometimes it's about, I got the Fantastic Four, I want it on the shelf, and I want to make sure that when it goes on the shelf, I don't lose any of my space. I could build around it because I know my next like 3 or 4 waves that are coming in need the space. How am I going to create that? Well, if I got rid of these statues, but I definitely don't want to sell the statues. Some of these pieces I really, really like. Okay, so where does that put me in terms of my options? I do have an old shelf. Can it fit in here? Well, at the time, I had this shelf and this shelf sitting next to each other. So I picked this one up and put this one on here and moved this one in here. And now I'm already thinking ahead to the idea that this is not a permanent fixture. This is for right now. Next, the next step is to either buy or make a shelf myself that takes up the exact amount of space that I have myself allowed, so that I can utilize the exact space I have. It takes real time to collect like this. Don't be in a rush. Just buy a couple things here and there, and understand that you're going to miss out on certain things to procure other things. $20 spent here is $20 you can't spend here, and that's true in storage as well. You're going to have to buy bookshelves. You're going to have to buy spacers. You're going to have to buy stands. These are things that you will need if you choose to get into this hobby. Is it worth it? Every time I come in this room, I tell you that it is. I'm gonna get out of here.
I have spoken. Take what you will from it.